Good evening, Sports Zonians. How's everybody doing out there tonight? I am Mike Aguilar. I am your host for this is Sports Zone. Coming to you live like we do each and every week here via the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Radio Network. We got a good show for you tonight. We'll be joined by Erich in a matter of moments here. Unfortunately, no Dave Hastings here tonight. He's a little under the weather, but that's okay. We still got a good show for you tonight. And we got a lot to talk about. We got some trades that have happened in the NFL over the last week. We're going to talk about all those, probably get into some baseball. You got game one of the World Series going on tonight. The Boston Red Sox beat the Houston Astros largely because of a very controversial call that happened last week. I can't remember which game number it was that it happened in. The home run shot by Jose Altuve that was overturned via it was game 4. I kind of thought that's what it was. Oh, thank you, cousin David. That was overturned because of fan interference. A rule I'm not really crazy about. If we're going to ruling that I'm not going to pretend. I mean, David, of course, you would think it's a BS call because, let's be honest, the Yankee dynasty kind of started on a call that probably should have been fan interference, if we're going to be honest. And David would be the first to tell you he was actually sitting in the stands near Jeffrey Mayer. Yes, I know you were at that game. I was saying bleachers, yes, whatever. He was near. You were near Jeffrey Mayer, right? Didn't you say you were like 50 yards away from him or something? You put that in the comments there. Anyway, so the Red Sox beat the Astros 100 yards. Yeah, 100 yards. Yeah, okay. I thought you were close. Yeah. So anyway, the Red Sox beat the Houston Astros to make it to the World Series, and they were taking on the Dodgers, who beat the Brewers. Bet yeah, there was a home. Altuve's shot was more of a home run than Jeter's shot was, if we're going to be perfectly honest. Altuve's was definitely more of a home run than Jeter's. So there's that. But anyway, yeah, you're damn right you agree. Absolutely. Anyway, so we got that to talk about. Red Sox Dodgers game one going on right now. I believe the Red Sox actually scored first. I will ask Erich his opinion on this. I do believe the Red Sox will actually win this series. I want to root for the Dodgers, I really do, but I don't want to root for the Dodgers. It's not a hatred thing. I just for some reason I don't like the Dodgers. Like I don't even remember the '88 NLCS where Oral Hershiser almost single-handedly dominated the New York Mets. Because I know that's a big reason why most Met fans don't like rooting for the Dodgers. I just don't like rooting for the Dodgers. And I think it's funny because every time the Mets play the Dodgers in the playoffs since that '88 World Series, I always kind of look at it as an easy win, if we're going to be honest. So there's that. But we'll wind up talking about that in a little while with Erich when he comes on. The Mets are in the process of trying to pick a general manager. They have 3 candidates, 3 finalists, who they are deciding over. It looks like Doug Melvin. I believe it's Doug Melvin. Let me check this. Doug Melvin, former general manager of the Texas Rangers and the Milwaukee Brewers. He would appear to be the front runner. And you also have Shane Bloom, who has worked as a senior vice president of baseball operations for the Tampa Bay Rays. And you have an agent, Brodie Van Wegenen, who's actually the agent for Jacob deGrom. Those are your finalists for the Mets general manager position. And I got to be honest, to kind of take a little page out of Erich's book here, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I question the amount of power the general manager will actually have in the long run here. I know Jeff Wilpon came out a few weeks ago and kind of threw Alderson under the bus, saying it was Alderson who didn't want to spend a lot of money. I think we all know that's horseshit, if we're going to be honest there. But we're gonna get Erich's take on it. Erich Tressler is here tonight. Erich, how you doing?
Doing good. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm hanging in. I'm hanging in. It's been a rough week. It's going to be an even worse week for me. But I'm happy we get to have this show right now so we can talk some sports. So we got that. Let's get sweaty, my
Is
friend.
it you who I beat last week in fantasy basketball? By the way, I'm not
You know,
even sure whose team is.
I'm glad we started off on that track. Yes, it was me you beat in fantasy basketball. How you liking the season so far?
Eh. I mean, half my team's hurt. Knox is already hurt. I was high on him.
Mm.
So I don't know. We'll see how the rest plays out. But yeah. So what were you talking about a minute ago? I came in on the show, but I couldn't hear what you were talking about.
Well, we'll get back to fantasy basketball in a little bit, but I was kind of setting the stage for the show tonight, and what I brought up because I was not sure when you were going to come on. So, have you heard about the Mets general manager search?
I did not, but it's about time they are looking for a new one. Are they looking for new owners yet too?
We would never be that lucky. We would never be that lucky, my friend. No, but anyway, the Mets general manager search. They have three finalists at the moment. Doug Melvin, the former general manager of the Milwaukee Brewers, in my opinion, I would say is the front runner. And then you have Shane Bloom, who is the senior vice president of baseball operations for the Tampa Bay Rays. Because the Wilpons themselves are kind of disagreeing about whether or not to go with an old school baseball guy or a modern day analytics guy. So Melvin represents the old school, Bloom represents the new school, and then you have a really outside the box candidate in agent Brody Van Wagenen, who is the agent for Jacob DeGrom. And they also had Casey Close, another agent. He made the final five, I think. And then you have I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but Kim Meeg, I think. She's been an executive for about 10, 15 years. I think she actually started out with the Yankees. She worked in the Dodgers organization. Her name has come up as a potential general manager for the better part of the last 10 years. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, are they sure? Are they going to consider her? Is she
No,
in
no,
the
no.
running? Is she?
No. She was one of the final five they were deciding amongst, but they've narrowed it down to three. And Kim and Casey Close have been eliminated, from what I know. And like I said, the three finalists are.
I'll be honest though, none of those names you told me interest me. Like nobody's like, wow, that's what they're getting. Like, I don't feel like there's any punch behind it.
I tell you, the one guy I would have liked to have seen them go after was I think I can't remember, I think it's Mike Chernoff, who's been in the Indians front office for the better part of the last 10 years. His father is actually the head of programming for WFAN. I would have liked Chernoff because this is a guy who comes from a New York background. And you see what he's done with the Indians the last few years. You know, they're a perennial playoff contender, World Series contender, in my opinion. They made the World Series a couple of years ago. That would have been the guy I would have liked to have seen. I think he dropped out of the running very early on. He declined an interview, if I'm not mistaken. Which, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to give you a little credit here because you know what the problem is with anyone who comes in to the Mets front office position is that you don't have full autonomy.
You don't have any autonomy. You can't do anything without running it past the Wilpons. They're gonna stick their nose from where it doesn't belong and try to get involved in baseball operations, and it's just not what they should be doing. They don't want to sink the money into the team. They don't, it's just another move by the Mets, in my opinion. I don't think this ups their game. I don't think this helps them bring in anybody. I don't see this as big name moves that I think would help. Like I just see it as another guy to fill the slot.
I think Bloom would be an interesting choice because I mean, listen, the Rays. I mean, look at what the Rays did this year. They were not expected to do anything, and they were basically in a wild card hunt for a large portion of the season. There, they did a lot better than anybody thought they would. They've always been big on the analytics. And I like the idea that, okay, you don't want to spend the money, go outside the box, go with the analytics and go with that approach because the Rays are a team that they don't spend a lot of money, but they're a team you always have to watch out for, in my opinion. I would like that type of mindset to trickle into the Mets' way of thinking, but I really think they're going to go with Melvin here. And I'm going to echo your sentiment. Melvin does nothing for me one way or another. This is a guy, yeah, he's got experience as a GM. His teams have never been World Series contenders, in my opinion. You look at the Rangers, you look at the Brewers. They had a couple good years kind of sprinkled in there, but for the most part, they were always struggling even to be status quo, in
I agree.
my opinion. Yeah. All right, so we'll move on from that. That's basically what I was talking about when you had come on there.
What's the score? Do we know the score of the Dodgers-Red Sox game?
I think from what I saw, and let me check again because I got ESPN up. Well, I had it up. Okay, the Red Sox are up 2-1 in the top of the third inning. It looks like the Dodgers have a man on with one out. So there you go. There. Let me ask you something. We'll start off.
Well, wait, we didn't do any World Series prediction, did we, last week?
I don't believe we did. I know a couple weeks ago we predicted who we thought would make the World Series. We did that. That was 2 weeks ago. I was half right. I got the Dodgers. I had the Astros getting back. Can't remember.
I had the Dodgers as well, if I remember correctly. I had the Dodgers and I had the Yankees. So that was more of me just being a little homer with that, but I'm wishful thinking. But yeah, I got half of it right myself. Now here's the question: is who are you taking?
I had said this before you came on here. Part of me wants to root for the Dodgers because it's been so long. I'd like to see Kershaw finally. Like, to me, everybody thinks he's a bad postseason pitcher. I don't think he's a bad postseason pitcher. He just doesn't have the wins to show it. Like that, the year that they versed the Mets, Kershaw was rock solid in both his starts against the Mets. They just didn't win those games. So I would like to see Kershaw get it, but I can't bring myself to root for the Dodgers. It's not a Yankee Red Sox hatred. I just flat out don't like the Dodgers. So I'm going with the Red Sox, and I think they're the better team anyway. To be honest.
All right.
Who you got?
I'm gonna go the other way. I'm gonna root against the Red Sox. I don't want to root for them, so I'm gonna go with the Dodgers. I'm gonna take the Dodgers and Kershaw and say I hope that maybe Sale's arm falls apart at some point in the series. But yeah, no, I'm gonna take the Dodgers. I know it's a hope and a prayer by doing that. The Red Sox have been far and away the best team all season long. I mean, 108 wins. You can't take it away from them. I think the Dodgers are 92 wins. I mean, just a much better season by Boston all around. They have up and down the lineup hitting. I know they're kind of top heavy with their first four, but I mean everybody in that lineup can hit. They have a great defensive outfield. They play hard. They play fast. They don't just rely on the home run. They're the toughest team to beat in baseball right now, and I find it an uphill battle. But I'm going to take the underdog. I'm going to take the Dodgers.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Dodgers still got a pretty good lineup too. They got Puig hitting 8th in this lineup. To me, that's impressive. And you look at the Matt Kemp hat. Everybody thought he was done. He goes back to the Dodgers. He basically turns back the clock about 5 years. So you got to give him some credit for that. And then again, Manny Machado at the trade deadline. So they got a good team. Plus Brian Dozier, they got him. So got a solid team. And I would definitely give them the edge in the bullpen. But I'm sorry, you said the outfield. Betts, Benintendi, and I'm not sticking to the outfield. Bogarts, man. With those three and the year Martinez had, it should be a good matchup, though. So there's that. All right, let's get to some NFL talk. If you would like to share your thoughts on Week 7, we could definitely do that. But I want to talk about these trades that have been happening over the last week. We started off with Carlos Hyde getting traded from the Browns to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have suffered injuries in their backfield with Leonard Fournette and T.Y. Yeldon. So they bring in Hyde. Then yesterday, the Cowboys traded a first-round pick to get Amari Cooper from the Oakland Raiders. And then today, your boys get in on the action. They trade Eli Apple to the New Orleans Saints for a 4th-round pick this year and a 7th-round pick in 2020. I'll give you the opening salvo here. What were your thoughts on these trades?
I like the trade for the Cowboys. Gave up a first round pick, but you're getting back a good receiver. I know he's had a little bit of a case of the drops, but I think he can get over that, and he provides a guy who can run pretty much any route for the Cowboys. So I think that's something they can need to complement Gallup and Beasley. I think that it only opens things more up for Zeke as well. And I don't really see a downside in it. I know they gave up a first round pick, but they only had to give up one pick. So it's not like they gave up multiple rounds and multiple years. So I think it was a good trade for both sides. Obviously, you see what they're doing there in Oakland. They're now going to have 5 first-round picks in the next 2 years, and that's if they don't make any other moves on top of the other draft picks they have as well. I mean, it is clear what Gruden is trying to do. He's cleaning house of everything and everyone, and he's starting fresh with his guys. He's going to draft his guys. He's going to roll with his guys. He does have that 10-year contract, so I'm sure he's planning for the future. So, the Raiders have been in some turmoil lately. They're just not clicking in the locker room, and I think the trade of Khalil Mack in the beginning of the year just shell shocked the team.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't been right since. So now Gruden's just enacting his plan, wants to get a different group of guys in there. And, I think that as far as the other trades go, I don't see much in the Hyde trade. I think that, it gives Jacksonville another back. But in the end, I mean, he's a guy who's had injury problems himself.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows how healthy he'll stay. And Jacksonville, another team just in a tailspin as well.
Mm-hmm. Sorry to interrupt. He did manage to stay healthy for the majority of last season, though. I will say that.
Yeah, but I mean, for the most part, though, in years past, he has been a little rocky. And as far as the Eli Apple trade goes, I mean, they say one bad apple could spoil the bunch. We're gonna hope by getting rid of him, we don't lose everybody else. But I see what the Giants are trying to do. They realize that they've kind of overshot on him and had to get something back for him. I think this was, I think there's one more year of control under him, and then he's going to be eligible to be a free agent anyway. So it's not like they're giving up a whole heck of a lot. There wasn't a guy they were going to re-sign in the future. So getting back a 4th and a 7th, I'm not real happy about the return. I would have rather just taken 1 3rd-round pick myself. But, we settled for a 4th and a 7th, and the end of the day, I don't think it necessarily helps or hurt us. He wasn't a fantastic corner. He was all right. I mean, but, I guess the Saints were desperate for someone, and we were happy to oblige.
I just think the time – I don't know if you agree with this. I just think the timing of the trade is a little curious. Like, I get that you guys lost last night and everything, and the season's not going the way you guys wanted and everything, but I just think with everything that went on with Eli Apple last year, I think it would have made more sense to make this trade in the offseason. Like, I kind of get the logic that maybe you wanted to see if he could recoup some value for himself. Not necessarily trade him while his value was so low as it was in the offseason. But if you look at the return, like you said, not the best return for a former first-round draft pick anyway. So I just think it would have made more sense to do it in the offseason. Now it kind of looks like maybe you're going to start to – and I'm not saying you will, but I'm just saying the appearances, maybe they starting to go on a total, I don't think rebuild is the right word, but a total cleaning out of everything. So our fire sale would be the right word. I know my cousin put this in here. I don't think this had ever happened, but my cousin put in the chat room, Eli Apple today, Eli Manning next week, Eli to Jacksonville, then the Giants get David Carr in the offseason. What do you think of that?
I think it'd be a lot of moving parts, and I just don't see the Giants could trade Eli, but I mean, honestly, what kind of return are you going to get for him at this point in his career? Jacksonville might be desperate enough to do it if they completely lost faith in Bortles, but I think it's wishful thinking for a Giants fan, is what I think.
Going back to the Cooper trade, on the Cowboys side, I mean, obviously, I like the fact that you get Amari Cooper, and you can say what you want about him kind of taking a step back in recent seasons, but you have a legitimate number one wide receiver now, in my opinion. You got to like that. The first round draft pick, I always get a little nervous trading away a first round pick like that, especially when the Cowboys actually have been drafting a lot better over the last 10 years since Jerry Jones really started taking a step back from handling the draft. You look at what they've done with the first round picks they've used on the offensive line, Ezekiel Elliott, Byron Jones, even the linebacker they got this year. They've made some good moves in the first round. So I always get a little nervous when they trade it away. Hopefully it works out, but I'm telling you right now, John Gruden basically staked his reputation on this trade and the Khalil Mack trade. Like, all right, fine. He wants to rebuild the team. He wants to bring in his own players. This was a team that is not even 2 seasons removed from being a David Carr injury away from making a Super Bowl, in my opinion. I think we both know if David Carr had been healthy that season, they would have at least made the conference finals, maybe even the Super Bowl, because they had one of the best teams in the league that year. And you've completely demolished and destroyed that team. And I'm not really sure you needed to. I think there's a large part of ego at play here. Rather than just taking what you have and trying to supplement that with some pieces here, some pieces there, you look at it and you're like, no, I'm going to make this team the way I want to. Even though you had a team that, in my
opinion, you hit the nail on the head. It's his ego. It's his ego.
And I'll tell you this, man. If Al Davis was still alive, he might have let Gruden do this, but he would have been like, dude, if this don't work, you ain't even lasting 3 years on this contract, man. I need to see results, if not next season, the year after it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. All right. Any thoughts coming out of Week 7 real quick before we go into picks for this week's games?
Nothing necessarily that jumps out at me.
I'll tell you this, man. I wrote off the Washington Redskins, and I know you guys had kind of agreed with me on it. When we were doing our picks for the NFC East, I didn't even bother really talking about the Redskins that much, and you guys are kind of with me on that. The Redskins right now are your front runner to win this division.
They're still going to end up a 500 team, though. They're still not going to be a 10, 11, 12-win team.
I don't know, man. That defense is solid, man. You saw what it did this week against Dallas. It's solid. I think Smith, we know, is a regular season quarterback. We know he doesn't take it to the next level in the playoffs, but he's a regular season quarterback, and he's been on teams that have won 11, 12 games. So he can do that. It's what happens when you get to the postseason. That's a different story.
Just saying, things are shaking out pretty well in the, I was just taking a look at the standings, actually. And, I mean, everything's kind of where you thought it would be. New England's leading the AFC East. Pittsburgh's leading the AFC North. Houston's, leading the AFC South right now, but we knew that was going to be a close division anyway. Mm-hmm. With Jacksonville and Tennessee only being a game back. Kansas City, we all thought was going to be good. We all kind of struck out a little bit on Oakland, but they had so much turmoil and turnover now that, kind of knocked them out of contention. But Kansas City's been everything we thought they'd be. Mm-hmm. Washington, you're right, has been kind of the surprise of all the divisions. None of us picked the Washington to be near the top of the division. The fact that they're on top now after 7 weeks, that's something to say. I mean, if they can continue it, then, good for them. And, Adrian Peterson looks like he's turned back the clock.
That's amazing. Amazing.
It is, but he's one of the best running backs of all time, though. So it's not like you could be like, oh, my God, he fell off a cliff and he's never going to play well again. He's just now, like, a better-than-average back where you used to be fantastic. You know what I mean? Like, New Orleans is winning on top of that division, which we kind of all thought, Atlanta's the one in the NFC South that's kind of, taking the biggest step back, I think, in my opinion. I don't know how you feel.
I can agree.
And then the Rams, I mean, we all picked the Rams, too. So, I mean, they've been a juggernaut, and they continue to be. So, I mean, there's not a whole lot of surprise other than, like you said, the Redskins are about the biggest surprise there is.
I don't think any of us would have ever thought that they'd be 7-0 to start the season, though. So that part's a little surprising. But yeah,
we all picked them at like 12-4, though, so we all thought they'd have a pretty good year.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right, let's.
And, even the Minnesota Green Bay, I didn't even mention that division. They're kind of, fighting for the top spot in that division, only a half game back Green Bay sits. So, I mean, and they were both, teams that everybody was looking at in that division, too. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where we're at this far in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, let's get to picks this week. So last week, I'm proud of myself. I went 3-0 last week. I am now 13-7-1 on the season. Dave is sitting at 12-8-1. Eric, you got to do something, man. You're at 9-11-1 here. You got to do something, man.
That's all right.
Yeah, okay. All right, so we got 3 games to pick. We'll start off. We got New Orleans taking on Minnesota in a rematch of last year's NFC semifinals game. Who you got, Eric?
New Orleans. Saints, baby.
Yeah.
Saints come marching in.
Yeah, absolutely. Davis picked the Saints, too. I'm going with the Saints here. Vikings looked good last week against the Jets, but it was the Jets. So there's that. Going into Minnesota, it's always going to be a little tricky for a Saints team that historically has never really been a great road team. But I think the way they're playing right now, I think you got to go with them. So you got the NFC Eastern Division battle between the Washington Redskins and the New York Giants. Dave has picked the Giants. I'm going with the Redskins here this week. I don't see how you can't go with them, especially the way they played against the Cowboys. And I'm sorry, Eric, but given the way the Giants are playing right now, I think you have to go with the Redskins. But who you got?
I'm going the other way. The Giants are due for a win. They're not as bad as they were last season. The offense is playing better. Who knows? Maybe getting rid of Eli Apple was a wake-up call to some guys on the defense. I'm going with the Giants at home.
Yeah. Well, listen, I don't want to see the Giants have another. I mean, listen, obviously I'm a Cowboy fan here, but no, I'm not rooting for them to go 3-13 again. So I hope they wind up pulling a couple wins together there. So we'll see how that goes. And then you got, in my opinion, the biggest match of the week. You got the Green Bay Packers going into Los Angeles to take on the Rams. I think this is going to be an absolute barn burner. I think this is going to be a shootout to the nth degree. But the way the Rams are playing right now, especially if you get Cooper Kupp back, who missed last week's game, they get him back, man. The way the Packers have been playing as well, I got to go with the Rams here. It's going to be a good game, though.
I'm going with the Rams as well, and it's because of one factor to me when I look at both teams. They have Todd Gurley, and they can control the clock better.
Yeah.
And that's really the way I lead is that Green Bay, even though they're fantastic and they hope to stay in games because, let's face it, you don't want to have Aaron Rodgers with a chance to win the game and a ball in his hands. But if they can avoid that and they can control the clock, I think it'll be another Ram victory. Although this is a game they can slip up on, I'm just not going to pick them to do that at home, even though it is a tough Green Bay team and it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, I agree. I'll say this real quick. Gurley is a beast. I want to give a little fantasy mention here because I have Melvin Gordon on my team. And he did not play this week, and they had the London game. And I went to work at about 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. It was about 8:30, I think I got to work, and got the announcement that Gordon was going to be inactive. And my freaking ESPN fantasy app would not work. So I could not take Gordon out of my lineup before the game started. And I got blown out like 144 to 110. So, fuck you, ESPN. Just want to say that. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Real quick, I did want to mention something else. So, getting away from football a little bit now, we've done our picks. I wanted to see what you thought of the Lakers 0-3 start with LeBron.
I mean,
and I want to know if I did hear one interesting stat about this. The only other times LeBron James has started 0-3 in a season were his first 2 years in Cleveland, and they were the only 2 years he missed the playoffs.
Well, I think all things considered, I don't think anybody thought they'd start 0-3, but I don't really think it's a surprise that they've gotten off to a poor start because we kind of said it. I mean, you look at the team around LeBron. This is not a team you would expect to be a playoff team, in my opinion. They have some good young talent, guys like Brandon Ingram, even though that dude's a freaking lunatic, man. He deserved a longer suspension, in my opinion, because that whole brawl that happened the other night, that was all him, in my opinion. So and then you got a lunatic like Rondo who just takes it uh, one step farther. So I mean, just between them, I don't know. But you look at the guys they brought in besides LeBron. It's Rondo, it's Lance Stevenson, it's JaVale McGee. It's like honestly, that's who you bring in around LeBron. And yeah, okay, Ball, Ingram, Kuzma, got some good young talent, but you don't have guys who are ready to win just yet. And LeBron's a good player, but I'm sorry, there's always been this stigma that LeBron can do everything and run a team by himself. No, I'm sorry. Everybody needs help. Jordan needed Pippen. LeBron always had guys, whether it was Dwayne Wade, whether it was Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love, Chris Bosh. That's when he was finally able to win. You look at what he did with Cleveland. Yeah, all right, he got them to the finals by himself one time. How long did it take him to get that team to the finals by himself, though? It took him a long time to be able to do that. And LeBron, I'm not trying to say LeBron is done by any stretch. This is not in his prime LeBron James anymore, in my opinion. So it's not that huge of a surprise.
No, I was a little surprised. I thought they would have got one game, and it just is interesting to me that he didn't. And I'm interested to see how the rest of the season goes because I'm hearing about him in more movie projects than I am Laker wins. So
yeah,
I hear he could be in on the new Jason project, the new Friday the 13th project. I'm hearing he's in on Space Jam. He's in on another one. Like he's getting his production company rolling. I'm worried that maybe he's in LA to put on a show and not necessarily win. So we'll have to monitor that as the season goes, though.
We all kind of knew that one, though. You look at the games he played: Trailblazers, Rockets, Spurs. Those are three much better teams than the Lakers right now. But Eric, I know you got to get out of here, man. So I'm gonna let you go. Thank you for joining us this week. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, just everybody watch the World Series. Watch football, college football. Alabama Roll Tide. Big game coming up, not this weekend, but in a couple of weeks. LSU, Alabama is going to be massive. But yeah, maybe we'll talk some more college football next week, though. But yeah, no, well, watch. It's a lot of fun.
Sounds good, man. Thanks a lot, brother. We'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely. Talk soon, man. Thanks. Have a great night.
You too.
Stay sweaty.
Stay sweaty, my friend. Yes. So that was Erich Tressler here on the Sports Zone. It's a little after 9:33. I think I am going to get out of here myself. I want to thank everybody for listening. I am going to cut it short this week. I just got a lot going on. I got to get up early tomorrow. A little out of it, not feeling too well myself, truthfully. So I do want to thank everybody for listening tonight. Thank Erich Tressler for coming on. Dave Hastings, get well soon. We'll see you next week, hopefully. And I am your host, Mike Aglioloro. Any more words of Billy Joe? Life is a series of hellos and goodbyes. I'm afraid it's time for goodbye again. From all of us here on the Sports Zone, thank you all for listening, and we will see y'all next week.